I'd like to go ahead and call to order the Glendora City Council meeting for Tuesday, September 26th, 2023. Let the record show that all council members are present tonight. For the audience here tonight, the City of Glendora utilizes a hybrid meeting format that allows for participation both in person and virtually. Please silence your phones if you're here in person, and if you're on Zoom, please don't speak until you're called on. I would ask for the I'd ask for the city attorney to read us into closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. We have 3 items on the closed session agenda tonight. The first involves public employee appointments. We are going to be asking the city council to ratify the city manager's appointments of a public works director, a finance director, and a deputy city manager. The authority to discuss these matters in closed session is Government Code Section 54957. We also have 2 real property negotiations. The authority to talk about real property negotiations in closed session is Government Code Section 54956.8. The properties are identified by their assessor parcel numbers. In the closed session agenda, one assessor parcel number has a common street address known as 1762 Dale Road. In addition to these, Mr. Mayor, I am requesting that you add a 4th closed session agenda item as an urgency item. Under the California Open Meetings Law, the Ralph M. Brown Act, the council can add an item to the agenda, including a closed session item, provided it makes 2 findings. The need to take action on this item arose subsequent to the posting of tonight's agenda, and the need to take action cannot await the next council meeting. We have received some correspondence dated yesterday that was physically received today that will require council action before the next closed session. The authority to hold this closed session would be exposure to litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9 D2 or D3 and E1. With respect to this item, it will take 4 members of the council to add the item to the agenda. I will need a motion and a second, and all members of the council will be eligible to participate in the vote except Councilmember Alawas. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Could I get a motion to add this item to the agenda?
Mayor, I would move that.
In a second. Thank you.
So we have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Thompson and then Councilmember Friedenau. And then we do oral roll call as well.
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedenau,
Yes.
Councilmember Davis,
Yes.
Mayor Boyer.
Yes.
Let the record show 4-0 with 1 accused.
So the record should reflect that Councilmember Alawas did not participate in the item, and the item was added to the agenda by a unanimous vote of the remaining members of the council.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I'll go ahead and open public comment. I know we do not have any public comment cards in person. Is there anybody on Zoom wishing to speak on the public comment on the consent calendar items?
We do not, Mayor.
Okay, I will close public comment and then recess us into closed session. Ready? Okay. If I could reconvene our city council meeting back into open session at 7:01 PM and ask the city attorney to read us out of closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen. City Council had a very busy series of closed session discussions tonight, and some of which involved reportable action and others of which did not. With respect to the agenda item involving public employee appointment, under the city's municipal code and pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, the city council was asked to ratify the city manager's appointment to the positions of Public Works Director, Finance Director, and Deputy City Manager. The new candidates for each of these positions were introduced to the council, and the council unanimously ratified all three employees. With respect to the real property negotiations, the properties identified by their assessor parcel numbers. In both cases, there were privileged and confidential discussions. In one case, there is a report that the California Department of Community Development had approved the city's proposed transaction. That transaction now still has to be negotiated and concluded. So there was a briefing on that process, but no reportable action was taken with respect to the Dale Road property. Again, there was a privileged and confidential briefing regarding the future disposition of that property. There was an additional closed session item added as an urgency measure. That matter involved the potential exposure to litigation. The city attorney briefed the council on the facts and circumstances which could give rise to the same. The city council unanimously authorized the engagement of legal counsel in that matter. That was unanimously approved with Councilmember Alawis not participating in the closed session. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thanks, Bill. With that, if I could ask that everybody please stand and join us in an invocation led by the Reverend Susan Scranton of Grace Episcopal Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Aiden Garcia.
Let us pray. Almighty and gracious God, we give you thanks for the abundance of the gifts with which you have blessed us. You have gifted us with dominion over all the earth. And in this particular community, you have entrusted to us the care and nurture of this beautiful city and the citizens of Glendora. We pray tonight most especially for city council members, for Gary, Mendel, Karen, Mitchell, and David, and all other leaders of this community, that you will bless them with courage and wisdom as they make decisions on our behalf. We pray especially for thoughtfulness, compassion, and integrity as our city grapples with homelessness and housing crises and possible steps taken in an effort to mitigate this crisis. And for all of us, we pray, O Lord, that you will direct us in all our doings with your gracious favor and further us with your continual help, that in all our works begun, continued, and ended in you, we may glorify your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And Aiden, step up.
Thank you very much. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this point, next up, would anybody like to reorder, add anything to the agenda? Okay, then I will go ahead and open public comment.
Gary, student
Reports. I just talked to you guys. They are. Okay, next up, I've got the student reports. So I've got students here representing some of the high schools in Glendora. Start with ladies first. St. Lucie, representing St. Lucie Prairie High School, Alexis Straight. Welcome, Alexis.
Hi, thank you for having me. Good evening, Mr. Mayor Boyer and esteemed City Council. Now 6 weeks into school, St. Lucie's campus has been busy with academic, athletic, and extracurricular activities. After campaigning and speeches, the freshmen have elected their first high school class office to lead the school year. St. Lucie's offered an open house for families interested in our campus to take tours and meet the staff. In the same week, more girls visited as shadows to see what we do throughout the day. This particular date was also our club day. On this day, a variety of clubs step to the forefront to make a difference in our communities near and far. These clubs inspire leaders to start change and students to discover new opportunities. While some clubs are based solely on interest and bringing girls together, many of our clubs are based on community service beyond St. Lucy's. Whether it's targeted towards children's hospitals, the foster system, or our local activities, students are getting heavily involved in giving their gifts to those in need, as these are our most popular type of club. Daughters shared a special moment with their fathers at this year's Tangled themed dance. This annual tradition creates special moments at the start and end of high school. This week, the Tri-School community prepares for homecoming with a theme each day of the week. These themes include dressing as your future past self, a Taylor Swift era, rhyme without reason, class colors, and green and gold. We have 2 rallies, one to celebrate our fall sports and 2 to celebrate the homecoming week. Friday will also serve as our game day for the victorious Spartan football team, where middle schoolers and alumni are invited to come enjoy the game and see the homecoming court. Our Back to the Future homecoming will end the month. While we look towards the end of Q1, we see many students preparing for bigger tests and projects. Our student athletes have been hard at work, especially as of late. Tennis started league last week, and volleyball is now a few weeks in. Golf and cross country have also gotten later but strong starts. Volleyball recently won the silver bracket of the Freeway Games tournament, beating teams like Los Osos, Arlington, Sultana, and Laguna Hills. One of our players also won the all-tournament player for her shining consistency and skill amid the athletes. St. Lucy's has also been very active with our colleges. Our counselor has been putting in the work to make sure we have good grasp on the college system and the schools themselves. Along with informational college meetings, we have speakers about 2 or 3 times a week. These speakers come in and talk about the school, they take interest surveys, and they answer any questions that the students have regarding their particular field. Colleges range from local, like Whittier, to further options like NYU at Abu Dhabi or Shanghai. This is just the start of what our college counselor has planned, and the effort into supporting higher education truly makes the school special. I can't wait for the next month when I talk about our October events, like our Topgolf fundraiser for our athletics department. Thank you for your time tonight. Stay safe and God bless.
Okay, thank you, Alexis. Next up, Carolyn Riggs, Charter Oak High School. Welcome, Carolyn.
Hi. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. My name is Caroline Riggs, and I am currently a senior at Charter Oak High School. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share all of the amazing things that are happening at Charter Oak right now. This past summer, our drama program traveled abroad to Scotland to perform the Drowsy Chaperone, a musical, and Charter Oak students performed in front of an international audience while in Edinburgh, and as an added bonus, received college credit for this as well. Their performance was well reviewed, which is practically unheard of for a high school performance. On a similar note, we are also very excited for the upcoming trip that our choir will be taking to Austria this year in the upcoming months for an Advent festival. We had a fantastic opening week to kick off the new school year, and our ASB hosted a welcome back luau with tours to welcome all of the new students. And the school was full of energy on the first day as our cheerleaders, teachers, and administrators were all out in full force to welcome students as they were greeted with donuts with ASB as they entered the gates. Our back to school night event was held on Wednesday, August 30th. And it started with a meeting discussing athletics, followed by an informational meeting about the various programs, pathways, and opportunity that COHS has to offer its students. 2 weeks ago, ASB held its annual Club Rush event so students could sign up to be a part of any club that interests them. Last Tuesday, 24 of our Chargers got accepted into Grand Canyon University and their on-the-spot admissions. Our choir performed at the Prince of Peace Lutheran Church that night for their fall showcase. 2 Fridays ago, the 15th, was our annual Future Chargers night where hundreds of elementary and middle school students took the field to form the tunnel that our varsity team ran through to open the game. And this past Friday, the COHS football program will be participating in its annual Crucial Catch game to help in the fight against cancer. And on Saturday, COHS was the host site for the annual COEF 5K and 1 mile fun run. Here is an update on our fall athletics program. Football is currently 1-5, volleyball is 0-4, boys water polo is 3-4, girls tennis is 0-2, and girls golf is 4-0. Coming up in the next couple of weeks, we have lots of fun events. This Thursday is our fall night rally titled Rush, and we've had this week is Spirit Week. So it's a good way to get students participated and involved. The Charter Oak Choirs will be performing at Angel Stadium this Friday for a mass choir event. The first grading period ends on Friday, September 29th. And on Saturday, October 7th, COHS will be hosting a college fair and Black Excellence Career Expo from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday, October 9th is a free day for parent conferences. Saturday, October 14th, Charter Oak High School will be administering the PSAT for juniors and sophomores to get a head start. Our fall musical production, Something Rotten runs from October 12th through the 21st. And finally, our homecoming football game is scheduled for Thursday, October 19th, with our homecoming dance at the Nixon Library on Saturday, October 28th. Thank you for your time. That is my report. Thank you for listening.
Well, thank you very much. Okay, next up, representing Whitcomb High School is Sylvan Ho. Welcome tonight.
Thank you. Good evening to everyone and everyone while listening. This is a board report, September 25th, 2023. This year is a transition for Whitcomb, along with a new principal, Ms. Shibata. We have 2 new adult transition classes and 2 new teachers, Mr. Worley and Ms. Rosas. We also have 3 classrooms that have recently been remodeled and that will be used by the adult transition programs. One of the classrooms has been transformed into a beautiful kitchen where ATB students will learn life skills and make their famous homemade hot dog treats. Dog treats, not hot dog. I got mixed up. Our continuation high school program is focusing on the attendance this year, and we have seen an increase in students attending and attending on time. Students will receive recognition for good attendance, including the opportunity to be Wildcat of the Week and earning off-campus lunch passes. Students will also be recognized at our quarterly recognition brunch for having perfect attendance. We will have many exciting events happen on our campus. We completed a very successful Wellness Week, thanks to the support of PTA, and are planning on celebrating Homecoming and Red Ribbon Week in October. And Whitcomb is a place where students are prioritized first. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Sylvan.
Thank you.
Okay, and last for representing Glendora High School, Aiden Garcia. Welcome, Aiden.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. My name is Aiden Garcia, and I am a senior at GHS. And I will be the Commissioner of Education for this year's school year. Glendora High School started the year strong with our Get On Board interactive first day of school. Students and staff got a chance to start the year in a new way, and everyone agrees it was a big success. This was followed by a successful senior sunrise, welcome back assembly, and boogie on back dance that was attended by more than 1,200 students. GHS has just finished celebrating Wellness Week with activities on campus and throughout the community. We are looking forward to bringing the much needed awareness to mental health and discussing the steps to maintaining wellness. Outside the classroom, we are seeing successful athletic seasons across the board, and we are very proud of our athletes. Our pipe band had the opportunity to travel to Scotland and compete in the World Piping Championships and finish 7th in the world. Considering they are one of the few high school groups to perform, this is a huge achievement, and we are proud of their hard work and dedication. Last week was our club rush, where over 60 clubs had a chance to represent their missions and recruit new students to join. With the great success in student participation for clubs, we cannot wait to see the growth and involvement in our school's community. As many of you know, homecoming season is quickly approaching, and ASB is proud to announce this year's theme as the happiest place on earth. Gaining inspiration from the Disneyland theme park areas, such as Toontown, Adventureland, Tomorrowland, and Fantasyland, ASB is busy in making sure this year's theme will make the best parade, assembly, and dance yet. We cannot wait to see the creativity and variety of all the floats this year, and appreciate the city council members here who will take part in the annual homecoming parade. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Wow, you guys did a great job. It is difficult to step up there to the podium. And I can't believe school's only been in session for how long? And the number of stuff that you shared with us tonight. So you guys have been really busy, but I think they deserve a big hand. So okay, now I'll move on. Asha. Okay, I will go ahead and open our public comment period and invite members of the public to address the council. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes speaking once on both on and off agenda items. If you're in attendance and you'd like to speak, please fill out one of the speaker cards and hand it to the clerk. If you're participating via Zoom, please use the raise hand icon, and you'll be called on after everybody here in attendance will speak. So at this point, I have one public comment card, and that is from Vicki Ellis. Welcome tonight, Vicky.
Is there a timer in front of me? I'm trying to,
Yeah, it should be
or I
right
can, oh, there it is.
behind you there.
Okay.
Yep.
I know it had to be there somewhere. Okay. Okay, Mr. Mayor and City Council members and Mr. Raymond. My name is Vicky Ellis. I'm approximately 50-year resident of Glendora. I'm a homeowner in what I now here refer to as Peacock Village. And I've written a letter and emailed it actually to each of the 6 of you just a little while ago. And I have a copy that I can leave for you also. 2 weeks ago, I learned that research and plans were underway for relocating many or most of the PFAL in Glendora. As one on the love side of this debate, I was disturbed, so I have begun watching the meetings from the past couple months, trying to see what I could learn. I'm on the love side of the debate. I've heard you talk about love and hate and maybe 50-50. I'm not sure if it's 50-50, but because I noticed a lot, not too many people came to complain, but, or, you know, I shouldn't say complain, but, you know, express their difficulties. But first, please know that there are currently a number of pea chicks, various ages. That's not normal at this time of year, but I wouldn't want to see them removed from, you know, separated from their mothers as this process takes place. But I am left with looking at a lot of these meetings, left with a lot of questions and concerns, such as where was the community outreach meeting? I heard mention of it, but I never had that come up in my knowledge. What are the state regulations for locating the birds? Where specifically will they live? You know, seem kind of vague, field somewhere. And how are companies vetted? Oh, am I there already?
I think,
Isn't working, so I'm just going to.
okay.
Okay, let me skip on. Safety for the PFAS throughout this transition for them. I'm concerned that they remain safe. I wasn't sure about the number of leaving 50. It seemed somewhat arbitrary. The budget I could see could be, if there are 200 words and only 50 remain, it'd be a $37,000 unbudgeted cost to the city. I'm going to skip down here. Some mentioned aggressive birds. I haven't personally come across that. I'm going to finish with saying the first meeting I watched, a young lady talked about the importance of joy. We've had a lot of darkness in that in our country the last few years. As for me, these birds continue to bring me joy, watching them, getting to learn about them, even when they make me wait to get in and out of my driveway. I enjoy them. And it's many times I've been able to observe parents showing their children these birds. And that's another joyful experience, because something maybe not all children get to see.
Thank you,
Okay.
Vicky.
Thank you. And may I leave a copy of this? I did email one to each of you, but I have a printed copy if you want that. So
We did receive them.
you got them.
Yeah,
Okay.
just before the meeting.
Okay. I know. I've
Okay.
been working on it and it's taken a long time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, I've got Anne Marie. Welcome tonight.
Thank you. My name is Anne Marie, and my first time at a city council meeting. I have recently been made aware of a couple websites that have been created with the sole purpose of targeting and doxing conservatives and Christians who they've egregiously labeled far-right fascists. This is one of them. And the other one is called Charty B, and I have a copy of that one as well, what it looks like, that website, which is right there. And I will submit this to you guys tonight. They label us in this hateful way for just wanting to protect our children. Their intent is clear. It is to dox those of us that they have put on this website, which is the intention of putting out personal information to cause harm to us and our families. This is very much a threat to our safety. The very groups of people from the left who requested this anti-hate policy are part of the same group of people who created this website, both of them. I also have proof that they were and are connected to Antifa. That's included in here as well. The group that terrorizes conservatives and Christians. As you can see, I, along with other members of our Glendora community, are on this target list, including Gary Clifford, Shauna Elias, Bob Kuhn, and others. There is a quote from a trusted source on Telegram regarding this chart. California communists, Antifa, LGBTQ+, have created a well-funded website to begin doxing far-right extremist school board protesters. That include pictures, names, organizations, nonprofits, social media accounts, and more in hopes of ousting known fascists. This is the hate label they have assigned to us conservative parents and community members for just wanting to protect our children. How is this inclusive or uniting? It's not. It's only hateful and dividing. And there lies the irony. The ones who are actually hateful are the ones who pushed for this anti-hate policy, while many of us have been the victims of their hate for far too long now. From this point forward, with this information you now have, what will you be doing to denounce this actual hate group and to protect those of us on this target list? I'd like to have this entered into public record for tonight's meeting. Thank you. I have grave concerns about my safety. I've received death threats. I've had vandalism done to my house. I've been doxxed on the Antifa website, along with Glendora Forward members, constantly doxing me, constantly threatening me, defaming, slandering me. I've dealt with it for 3.5 very long years, and I am concerned for my safety. I am a single woman at home alone, and I have nothing to protect me other than coming to you guys and asking, please do something about the real haters, while those of us who just simply want to protect our children, speak up at school board meetings, are being targeted.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Anna. Okay, is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak? Okay, with that, is there anyone on Zoom with a raised hand? No.
No, Mayor, there isn't.
Okay, perfect. Then I will go ahead and close public comment and bring about to council for comments or statements. Who wants to go first? David, go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to invite the community to join me as my wife and I attend a gala on the plaza on October 14th, sponsored by the Glendora Welfare Association, which is a unselfish service organization designing to do great things for the people that need help quietly here in Glendora. So the Welfare Association is a wonderful organization that not many of us are aware of, but they do good things. And they have a wonderful fundraiser gala Saturday, the 14th. Please join me. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This week, the mayor and I were at the League of Cities meeting in Sacramento. Among the many things that took place there, the city of Glendora was recognized and received a grant for workforce wellness. So yay, Glendora. Also, we had workshops and general sessions on homelessness, partners for housing, state expectations of cities, communication tools for difficult topics. Inspiring speakers were at the general sessions. They installed the 23-24 officers for Cal Cities. And also they recognized Assemblymember Ward, who tonight will be talking about some of his legislation. And I had the opportunity to talk with leaders from other cities. So a lot of good information. And I know that Mr. Boyer and I will probably be sharing more of that information in the weeks ahead, but that was something that took place and very happy to be part of that. Also tonight, Mr. Mayor, I would like to ask that in a few moments, we have a moment of silence in memory of Deputy Ryan Klinkenbroomer. On September 16th, 2023, Deputy Klinkenbroomer was ambushed and killed while he sat in his patrol vehicle by the Palmdale Sheriff's Substation. For senseless violence such as this, there are no words. I know that our community, as well as many across our state, our county, our nation, send prayers to his family, his friends, his coworkers. We are mindful of the dangers that all men and women in uniform put themselves in harm's way each and every day. And so in a moment of silence, I would like us to remember Deputy Ryan Klinkenbroomer, and also a moment of reflection for those who put themselves at risk each day.
Okay, thank you, Karen. I'm going to ask that we do that when Captain Randazzo steps up to give his presentation at that point. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Michael?
Thank you, Gary. Captain Chris, can you come on up for a moment, please? I'd like for you to address Ann's question. What can we and can we not do when these situations come up with doxing or people feel they're being followed home, feel unsafe? What parameters can we do as a city to help protect these folks?
There are a couple of different aspects to that. Obviously, people have the right to express their own free opinion relative to that. And as long as there isn't any prohibited speech that occurs, it may not necessarily fall into something that's criminal behavior. Now, it doesn't mean that the police department can't help mediate disputes. We often do that relative to people being followed home. That's a pretty simple answer. If you feel you're being followed, or if you feel that you're in danger, we're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We never close. We will always be there. So if you feel as though you're in danger, call us. We'll send an officer out. Typically those types of calls are priorities for us. And so, you're not going to have to wait long.
Great. Thank you, Captain.
You're welcome.
So I too want to add on to the welfare thing, since he kind of stole my thunder. Thank you, David. But I want to add a little bit more. So those that are interested or want to do some line dancing, there's going to be some bands out there with line dancing as well. But I want to give some.
I don't dance.
I'm going to leave that alone. So just to put some, give you some perspective on the Glendora Welfare Association, I'd asked to find out what they spend the money on and how they help the community, because it's only for Glendora folks. And they have this last year, they paid over $1,800 in electric bills, $170 in gas bills, over $7,000 in people's rent. The water bills, almost $3,000 in water bills, $7,500 in gift cards for groceries, and about $75 in gas cards. So this money is not for them, it's for giving it back out into the community. They do a really fine job, and they, like every other organization, has been struggling in the past, and we really need your support over here at Bidwell Forum. It's going to be a very nice event. They have been working for almost over a year now, because they had to redo the time because of certain events. And so again, it will be October 14th, you said? Yes, October 14th, 3 to 7 p.m. We're going to have all kinds of games and prizes and things to win. Next up was at our COG meeting, Council of Government meeting last week, we had a presentation about the CARES Act. And to say that we were all disappointed is an understatement. Just to give you some highlights, it's a $321 million program that sunsets on June 30th, 2027. 75% of the funds go to bridge housing, and 25% are for flexible funding, meaning they can do whatever they pretty much need to do. They're going to employ over 100 employees. And what is challenging to all the cities that were there is this is a voluntary program. Even though you go and you do a petition, your family does a petition, loved ones, neighbors do a petition to have some care given to an individual, it's still voluntary. They will not force anything on anyone. They do not have a panel of doctors and things of that nature unless they are voluntarily committing themselves. So more to come. Hopefully they will tweak the program because this is similar to what LASA is doing now to a degree with a little bit of a twist to it. So hopefully they'll do some more things to buttress this program and make it more viable, because there are some folks out there that really need the help, and your heart goes out to them. And Mr. Mayor, I'd like to also close in the memory of Mr. Richard Wilson, who passed away August 7th at the age of 75. Mr. Wilson held the rank of first lieutenant in the Army and was stationed in Turkey at the height of the Cold War. Richard went on to establish Colorama Nurseries, and many of us have taken his product at Home Depot, Lowe's, and Walmart. You saw his trucks going around town, probably with a red flower on the side of it. And he had recently retired, and then quickly met his demise. He's survived by his wife, Terry. He started his business here in Glendora and lived most of his adult life here in Glendora as well. So if we can do that, I would greatly appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Michael. We'll do that. Mendel?
Yes, Mayor. It's been a while since I've given everybody a update on what our goal line's doing. Yes, there is a train that's coming to town, and it will be here 1/5 of 25. That's when the station and everything's supposed to be done. And so let me just give you just a quick update on some of the key points. The track is all installed. All of the bridges are, done. Now there's some additional work that you'll see being done, but the main frame is all done. Crossings are all done. 60% of all of the stations are basically done. 65% of the light rail track system is done. That is the electrical part that everything kind of runs off of. And 89% of all of the walls are done. Those are all of the major sound walls that mitigate train noise. So, those are all done. So things are going well, as I have shared for a year or two since being on that board. We are on time, and the budget is under. That cannot be said for a lot of government work, but it can be said here. So things are moving along. All of the yellow trucks that you see, most of those are still here, but a lot of them are gone, doing a lot of other work. But things are going well, and it'll be good to get everything done. And with that, Mayor, that's all.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to address a couple of things. The peacock issue. You're 100% right. The number of 50 keeping peacocks is arbitrary, but there's no precedent as to what to do. We as a council, when we took a look at all of the evidence, we felt it was necessary to do something. I don't think we will know for a long time if we took the right action or not, but we did believe that something needed to be done. But Adam, could you address what the plan actually is and how the birds will be removed?
So generally speaking, there's a humane trapping that must be followed. Had a chance to peruse your letter really quick. Apologize. We got it a little bit before 5. It had been in closed session from 5 to 7. So Kathleen grabbed your phone information. So I will follow up with a phone call with our code enforcement staff who will be responsible for the trapping program. So in a large sort of picture, the city would not begin a trapping program with the young birds and the moms. It's cruelty to separate them at this phase. You're absolutely correct. Some of the pea chicks were later this season than others. There were quite a few off of the Leodora area the other day. So council provided staff some leeway in how to do the trapping, to trap in certain geographic areas, not to eliminate them from any one area, but to reduce the overall populations. We'll work with the vendor when we select one to have the right ratio of male and female, so peacocks to peahens, and come up with an idea and map where they're located The cages that the peafowl will wander into can be as large as 12 feet by 12 feet. The city will engage with the private property owner to keep that cage on their property. They will be checked each and every day as to not put cruelty towards those animals. We wouldn't do it if it was super hot outside, for example, and there was no way for them to go. The state of California and the city classify peafowl as domesticated feral animals, and as such must be trapped humanely. They are then taken to peafowl sanctuaries, where they will live out the rest of their days. There are certain state requirements that specifies what these areas must have, largely a lot of land and as close to their natural habitat as possible. So I will have more details for you when we call. Code enforcement again is responsible for will be responsible for doing the program, but we wouldn't do a lot of those things that were deemed cruel and humane, not just because it's illegal, because it's not the right thing to do. So we will also be back before the council with an item. You were correct with your numbers. If that's, if there are 250 and we remove 200, what those estimated costs are. And council approved this as a one-time action, not an ongoing thing. So as the mayor indicated, we'll know more in the years to come how prevalent they are. You mentioned in your letter about COVID and feeding of peafowl, and you may have seen signs around town on not to feed the peafowl. We have to have specific language that talks about what could happen to someone if you feed the peafowl. That's our requirement. It is because it's illegal to feed them. But we do get more reports, and especially during COVID, when a lot of people were home, we had even more reports of people feeding peafowl. And as you might imagine, we got calls for and against peafowl. And if you saw the council meeting, the majority of the phone calls we got were neighbors that disagreed on feeding of peafowl and how they treated them. So happy to follow up with a phone call sometime this week or early next. Again, with code enforcement, we'll walk you through all the particulars that are in your letter. As an aside, appreciate you watching all those meetings. I know how exciting they are. It is evident that you did your homework. You asked a lot of questions, a lot of the same questions that staff and the council asked as well. So appreciate your engagement on this issue. We'll be in contact to answer all the questions that we can.
Thank you. And then, I'd like to address the fact that, that the unfortunate reality is that today we live in a world that there's a lot of divisive behavior amongst all of us. And it's unfortunate that that's where we are, but we all have an obligation to try to do what we can to address that. I do want to share with you the statement that we adopted a few weeks ago. That was not encouraged by any organization or by anybody. That actually started with a conversation between the mayor pro tem and myself. We talked about a lot of the things that we saw, and we felt it was important to make sure that people understand that that's not what Glendora is. Glendora has never been the type of community that we address differences with cruelty. So, your words were heard. It is extremely unfortunate that we all seem to be, when we have these conversations, it's really difficult to have disagreements without going to extremes today. And I do think it's possible, and I think this community has the ability to come together and understand that that's not the way to solve our differences. But I just wanted to make sure that there was an understanding that statement that we made that was initiated by the mayor pro tem and myself, and the council was involved in the entire conversation, but it was not, it didn't come to us from an outside entity in any way, shape, or form. And hopefully we'll all get back on the baseball fields and the soccer fields and in church and having dinner together, and can find a way to resolve some of these differences. And let's all hope we can get to that point. So that is all I have. Adam or Bill, anything to add? Okay, with that, our next item is a police department quarterly update. I'd like to invite Captain Mike Randazzo to step up to the podium. But before you start on your presentation, I would like to take the opportunity on behalf of the entire council and the entire city of Glendora to thank you and your colleagues for everything that you do, everything that law enforcement does to take care of us on a daily basis. That's not said enough. And with the death of the officer that Karen mentioned earlier, I would like to ask you before you start your presentation, we start that with a moment of silence. So if everybody would join me in that, please. Okay, thank you very much. Captain?
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Mayor Boyer, members of council. You know what, before I start, thank you for this opportunity, but let me just take one moment, if I may, to thank all of you. Ryan's death is a tremendous hardship on all of us. We wear these mourning badges across our badge, and they're just a little tiny piece of nylon, but they weigh heavy on our hearts and our minds. And everybody at the Glendora Police Department, we wear these mourning badges by order of the chief of police. And anytime a police officer is killed in the line of duty, we wear these mourning badges. And it's a great burden on the officers, but we also enjoy doing it and honoring our fallen brothers and sisters. But I just want to thank all of you for what you did today for Ryan. The last session was closed in memory of Chief Castro. Everything you do for Louis in June, everything you do for Police Officers Week in May, all the proclamations. It means a lot that you genuinely care about us and check in on us. And we really appreciate it. It's these times are tough, and what you do and how you feel and your true and genuine care for us is great. So we appreciate it. Thank you, all of you. Okay, let me switch gears a little bit here. All right, I picked 3 subjects for tonight. Just to give you an idea what the police department has been up to. It's been some time since we've given one of these presentations, so I picked a couple different topics that I figured would be useful to all of you. And I also picked some topics that go along with the city strategic plan and their goals. By the way, I wasn't nervous until I saw the student reports, and it's going to be a tough act to follow. They killed it, and then I have to follow that. So anyway, yeah, been a while. Current state of the PD. This is the first topic is going to involve mainly staffing, and it's directly related to strategic goal number 3. And then homeless update, which all these subjects kind of bounce around, but city strategic plan goal number 6, 7, and 1. And then our crime prevention and community engagement, which is goal 7 and 1. So currently we have 11 total vacancies at the police department. We have 5 police officers, 1 dispatch supervisor, 2 jailers, 2 dispatchers, and 1 records specialist. Our cadets are part-time employees, so we're continuously creating them. We have 3 currently, and we're looking to add somewhere. 7 seems to be the magic number, but we've had great success with our cadet program. So typically when we hire a cadet, they move on to something better in our city or another business. So we're always looking for cadets. By the way, if anybody knows anybody that's looking for a job and is an honest, upstanding person, we have basically job openings from the top to the bottom at the police department. Visit the city website and look at our jobs, please. Recruitment. So recruitment and retention kind of go hand in hand, but I'm going to kind of go over just recruitment. We've over the last few years, we've been short-staffed. We've been trying to fill vacancies, and it's been a struggle to get back up to full staffing. We're still not there yet, but the successes have been with all the city departments working together and really coming together as a team. things that we could never do in the past, we're doing now. I'll kind of highlight some of those things, but especially human resources, the finance department, city manager, all of you supporting us have really made a big difference. We've been allowed to overhire some positions for our succession planning, our long-term planning, our forecast for vacancies, and our incentive programs. And then our city and PD social media teams working together. We've done recruitment fairs, something that we've never really done in the past, but over the last few years, we've really evolved. Numerous city staff, PD staff get together and go to recruiting events, and every time we have one, the next one is even better. And we've kind of been other agencies have been stealing our ideas because they've been doing such a good job with them, but we really have a real professional recruitment team, and we do really nice events with banners, audiovisual aids, and the diversity of the group with all the different city staff that shows up, HR, police department people. It works out really well. Another thing that we've been able to do, which is we had the idea for a long time, but it never was really possible without the cooperation of the whole city, is one-day hiring events. For police officer, I'll kind of make most of this as it applies to police officers, but the hiring process is long and involved. We're looking for a good fit, but we're also looking for somebody that meets the qualifications to be a police officer. So we've basically cut the hiring process into one day, not the complete hiring process, but applicants will get vetted by human resources. They'll show up to a one-day event and we'll accomplish a written exam, traditional oral panel exam, a physical agility test, and a secondary interview, and put that candidate in backgrounds if we can. We've had 2 recently, and the numbers, it's always hard to take applicant to hiring, but we've had 50 to 70 applicants, and we've actually been able to put 5 to 7 people in backgrounds that day and start that process. So it's, with all the competition now, we need to act fast, and we keep adjusting with all city staff to get this done, and it's working very well. Kind of talked about a little bit of this. It's a lengthy process. The one-day recruiting event knocks off a couple months of work that we used to have to do. We're still doing the work. It's just basically in one day, and takes a lot of staff. So we get it done, and then we can get them into our background process and everything else that goes along with it: medical evaluation, psychological evaluation, polygraph, chief interview, police academy, and training. If we hire somebody as an entry-level police officer, it usually takes us about a year to get them through the academy and through our field training program, about 6 months for each. And this is some of the challenge of getting police officers 10-8 in the field, and deployed in the field and filling the role of a police officer. Our homeless effort. I wanted to talk a little bit about our homeless efforts and our teams. I know most of you know Officer Ed Meeker and Officer Ray Kodatic. But we have key people that are in charge of homeless, but I didn't want to say that it's their responsibility, because everybody at the police department works on homeless issues, kind of just like everything else. But it's a partnership between our detective bureau, all the stakeholders involved, and we take a holistic start to finish approach with homeless. There enforcement that needs to be done. There's also assistance, and it's a multifaceted approach to homeless. And I'll talk a little bit about the other agencies with a caveat. I know some of you have seen some of these pictures, but a recent homeless camp, they're expensive to clean up, but this is kind of a before and after. And this is our new side-by-side vehicle that we're using in the South Hills and the rural areas to reach out and contact our homeless in the area, provide assistance, enforce laws, whatever we can to help the scenario out. I'm going to get into recreation and human services side of it. And I wanted to mention our partnership, but Miss Debbie Lopez is going to come in at a future date and give you a presentation. So I'm trying not to go too in depth on her part of it, but just approaching homelessness holistically and using all the city resources is is not something that we started out doing when we first encountered this problem, but as the processes have evolved and we've come to a place where we're really doing a directed approach with homeless and also using all the resources we have available to us. So community services is no longer community services, so I need to amend my PowerPoint, but it was already submitted. So it's recreation and human services now. I apologize for that. But LA CATA, which I'm sure you all aware of, we have a contract with them. We have 2 workers that are here basically 40 hours a week. And, you know, our patrol officers go out and officer assistants and do what they can in that holistic approach, but really making a difference with LACATA, with our human services staff, with all of the police department, all of our patrol officers, you know, no matter what the call is, if it involves homeless or something else, they're taking that call from start to finish. So I wanted to mention all PD staff in there as well. Crime prevention and community engagement. I did want to mention, before I go forward with that, I did want to mention, I already mentioned Miss Debbie Lopez, but also Eric Diermeyer, which he has a formal title, but his informal title is All Things Homeless. He comes to us with a lot of experience, and I won't take the wind out of Miss Lopez's sails for her presentation, but great partners over there, and we're making wonderful progress with human services, PD, LACATA, everybody that's involved in this. So our crime prevention, we kind of revamped, and again, I don't want to stray away from the police office, the whole police department as a whole. I'm going to tell you, our community service officer, Nita Ulola, who heads this program and is in charge of a lot of the outreach with the businesses and crime prevention. But don't think that it's only her, it's the whole PD behind her. And, you know, somebody is a victim of a crime and a police officer comes out, or somebody calls for help. Police officers are going to do the things that she does on a routine basis every time we respond. But she also has some directed goals and some special outreach that she does to kind of augment this whole program. So we moved her into the Detective Bureau and reassigned her with a new vision and new goals. We've continued our community academy. I'll talk about CPTET, crime prevention through environmental design, and our information gathering and dissemination. So our community academy, we still continue them. We're doing a minimum of 3 a year. We just started our most recent one 2 weeks ago. Well, there's September 13th. We have a variety of presentations. It's an 8-week long, 3 hour a night, 1 day per week. Right now it's Wednesdays, probably continue to be Wednesdays. So if you're interested in our community academy, please visit the website or contact Miss Ulola and she'll get you into our next one, which should be only a couple months away. And then also our crime prevention through environmental design. CSO Ulola is reaching out to all the businesses in Glendora, whether they're victims of crimes or not, but especially if businesses or people are victims of crimes. She's following up, and it's not something that our police officers don't do. It's not something that our detectives do, but she's also reaching out and doing site visits and seeing how we can improve and prevent crime through the design. You know, we've all kind of heard the basics, motion lights and shrubbery and things like that, but to really go out there as an expert and work in partnership with our community and make things safer has been a great help. She still schedules and handles all of our community meetings with help from the entire police department. And she's been tasked more to identify problems and trends in our crimes. These are some examples of the community connections, community meetings, service group meetings, Chamber of Commerce, site visits, which I've mentioned, crime victims, which I mentioned. She's really using our social media team at the PD as well as over here in the city side and working together, working with patrol, our community impact team, our major crimes and problems team, our detectives, and hosting special events. So some of the progress that we've done. When I wrote the PowerPoint, I just decided to do all the stats from June, July, and August. So since then, 17 crime prevention through environmental design evaluations, Coffee with a Cop, we did 1 so far, those 3 months. Neighborhood watch meetings 5, National Night Out 1, 8 briefing presentations, which are patrol shifts, and 5 community meetings. And that is about it. Any questions?
Okay, Captain, thank you very much. Anybody have any questions? Nope. David?
Thank you, Captain. And again, yes, you have our support. And we know that the city has yours, so that's great. A couple of the ordinances that we've set in place some time ago to help as tools for the unhoused efforts, bulky items ordinance and shopping carts. Are those useful at all, or are they tools that we're able to rely on to assist you with means of addressing these issues?
The short answer is yes. There's a lot more to it than that. I don't think this was a question, but yes, they are very helpful, but there's so much involved in the homeless problem that it's those ordinance are one small part that we use. The cleanups, we still have to comply with a lot of laws and a lot of different case law that comes when we clean up a homeless camp. So yes, they are helpful, but there's not, the homeless problem is a spider web. It's multifaceted and it's hard to solve. And some of the issues that we've had are a few years ago, we kind of were a bit caught off guard with the homeless situation as it arose, and what could we do? What couldn't we do? And lawsuits came into play and ordinances came into play, and we had to research and kind of find our way. So the ordinances help. LA CADA helps. Getting our patrol personnel and everybody in the police department to be invested and know what the plan is and offer resources, but then also enforce any violations that they see and helping as much as we can to solve the problem, not just put a Band-Aid on the problem. So I know it was a long answer, but yes, they help, but there's a lot to it, and it will be a problem that we'll have to address for quite some time before I think we can say we have control over it or assisting people as much as we can.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the entire team. And it's a broad spectrum team that continues to address the solution. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, nothing. Well, Mendel?
Well, I just want to echo what has been said, that we do support you guys, the women and men that work every day, every hour. And thank you for the service, for the grace that you do it in, but the strength that you do it in. And we appreciate that. The only question that I have, and I want you to talk a little bit about this, because hopefully there's an officer that's sitting at home bored and watching us and wondering, my taxes are going to be coming up here soon. Do we pay any incentive pay to join us?
Yes, we do.
And can you tell us what that incentive pay is? Because that could nudge 1 or 2, or whether we need 5 to fill some of the void. So,
well, that and a little bit more. So the entry-level police officer incentive signing bonus is $5,000. The lateral is actually more. All the information is posted on the city website.
Great.
But also I would also say, look at the total package. The city has been very fair, and our Police Officers Association has received a couple of very fair contracts lately, which have put us very competitive with other agencies. So look at our pay, look at our benefits. We're not necessarily looking for somebody that wants to be the highest paid, because while that's an issue and benefits are an issue, and you all have done a great deal to help that out, we also want somebody that's invested in our community. And we talk about fit quite a bit. And the fit for us is somebody that wants to be a Glendora police officer. And we do things a little bit differently. We provide as much service as we can. We expect a little bit more out of our police officers. And it really is a family environment. You'll know everybody by first name if you work at the police department in Glendora. And that's kind of our philosophy is we have good benefits, we're well paid, but we also are hard workers and we want to earn that pay and we want to be a part of the community. And there's a lot of great police departments out there, but we think ours is very special.
Well, I agree with that, but I just wanted you to be able to share some of the incentive pay that we have.
Sure.
Because I think that that's important. Thanks a lot.
Yep, I got a stack of flyers in my car. If anybody wants.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
Thanks, Captain.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we move on to our consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar will be enacted with one motion without individual discussion unless any council member wishes to pull any item. Anybody want to pull anything?
I'll move items 6 through 9 on consent.
Mayor, it's 7 through 11.
That's right. We renumbered them 7 through 11.
Yes. And just for the record, I do want to announce that a resolution associated with item 11 was delivered under separate cover and has been made available to the public.
I'll second that.
So I have a motion made by Councilmember Alowis, second by Councilmember Friedenall. I do apologize. I'm not sure why the voting is not working, but I will now conduct oral roll call. Councilmember Alowis.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Friedenall.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Thompson.
Yes.
Mayor Boyer.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Item number 12 is a discussion of assembly of the constitutional amendment number 13. It was requested by Mendel and myself. And I believe Moises Lopez is going to give us a report. Welcome, Moises.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. The report before you this evening seeks your consideration of ACA 13, which would change the voting thresholds for future ballot measures. ACA 13 was approved by the legislature before its term concluded earlier this month, with approval of both the state Senate and Assembly. Under existing law, any state ballot measure can be approved by a simple majority vote of the electorate, regardless of the changes to state law made by the measure. There are some differences between initiatives at the state level and initiatives at the local level. If ACA 13 is approved by the voters, it would require any constitutional amendment proposed by an initiative that would increase the voter requirement of future measures to be approved by the same proportion of voters that it would implement to that future measure. What this effectively means is that if a proposed measure seeks to increase the voting threshold, say from 50% plus 1 to 2/3, that it would also be subject to that threshold that it's seeking to implement. Its provisions would apply to all statewide initiative measures submitted to the electors on or after January 1st, 2024. So there is no retroactivity. It also makes a clear mention that it includes any measures that appear on the ballot at the same time that ACA 13 would be considered by the electorate. Staff is requesting that the City Council consider ACA 13 and provide direction accordingly as to how to proceed. That concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Moises. Since I'm the one that requested this, I will, start the conversation. Well, I guess first off, does anybody have any questions for Moises or? Nope. Okay.
I have tons, but I need your guys' input.
Okay. The bottom line, the way our process works, if we are, we belong to a variety of different regional and statewide organizations. And if one of our member organizations takes a position on something, then we by right can take that same position. I disagreed with the positions that were taken by our organization. So I felt it was important for us to have the discussion as a council to see what we all thought. I look at ACA 13 and it's pretty simple. Okay, if there's something on the an initiative that's put forth to raise the threshold of votes needed to increase taxes, then it would have to pass by that same voting margin. The issue that I have, this is an amendment to the Constitution of the state of California that is over 100 years old. for the sole purpose of targeting one initiative that may or may not be on the November ballot in 2024. So I don't see this as an amendment to our Constitution to address an issue that we have or that's necessary in any way, shape, or form. And I don't think it's appropriate for us to be changing the Constitution of the United or a Constitution of the state every time an initiative is passed that certain governing bodies don't agree with. So for that reason, I personally oppose ACA 13. And I would like to hear from the rest of the council to see what everybody thinks. But, you know, it's targeting one initiative, the Taxpayer Protection Initiative, or the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act that, like I say, may or may not be on the November ballot. But the unintended consequences of this is, as we move forward, we have in the past, we have approved Proposition 13, 62, 218, 26 that have all addressed the ability to raise taxes in California. There's no question that California has the highest tax level in the entire United States. And so there's a reason that we felt the need to pull this in. So, you know, I look at it and I'm going, first, we shouldn't be changing the Constitution to address one initiative that may or may not be on the ballot. And there are unintended consequences that may come forth if this were to be passed. So for that reason, I would ask that we take a position to oppose this.
Sure. So in looking at the staff report and listening to Moises and on our briefing, I'm still a little lost on what is going on here. Why do we need to have the constitutional amendment to this item as opposed to simple legislation to fix whatever they think they need to fix?
Why, thank you. So taking a giant step back, and we actually just got an email about the California Business Roundtable measure legality being challenged by the state of California today to the California Supreme Court. So taking a giant step back, if I can, the city council took a position as it relates to the California Business Roundtable measure to oppose it because it was changing, it seeked to change case law surrounding voter initiatives ending up on the ballot in a series of case law or cases dating back to 2017 to 2019. The long held belief that special taxes, a la a tax for a specific item or a general obligation bond or a property tax measure, must always be 2/3 for cities. Now, for school districts, it's 55%. But for cities was 2/3 was changed through a series of court rulings, which started in a city of Upland case, which was more about the election date that something could be heard, not about the type of tax that was being raised, and was changed further through San Francisco and Fresno cases, where it moved that a voter initiative was a 50+1, not a 2/3, regardless of what happened. So obviously there were some implications in the late teens and in 2020 on that. So one of the items the California Business Roundtable measure was seeking, and what this council heard, was that provision from 50+1 to 2/3 would be changed under current case law to what they're proposing. There are other provisions of the California Business Roundtable that change definitions or create other ambiguity, and there's a retroactivity clause that people point to, which could be really punitive for some agencies, not us, that doesn't apply to us, but other agencies that could have measures repealed. I think as we had robust discussion at that time, there never tends to be a perfect ballot measure, just intent. The reason why these two measures are hand in hand and confusing is oftentimes we have similar ballot measures on a general election or a presidential election that seek to do similar but different things. That's the whole no means yes and yes means no. And whatever received the highest percentage of votes became the winner of the two arguments. In this specific case, the California Business Roundtable measure seeks to implement some foundational changes. This measure seeks to usurp some of those items included in that measure, but not all of them, by changing the threshold for which that measure must pass. Both of these potentially include provisions that are survivability, meaning we'll all be sitting here listening to courts, and Bill and other attorneys will make a lot of money hearing cities and special interest argue over who's right and who's wrong. So this measure seeks to preempt a specific portion of the California Business Roundtable measure, not the totality of the measure itself, which in and of itself could have some legal issues. So to answer your question, why must we have it? The League of California Cities and other municipalities, most of them in the state of California, signed on to oppose the California Business Roundtable measure because it would alter the current tax law now. This was a way to usurp the portion that impacts cities, not the entirety of the measure, by making the California Business Roundtable measure, as the mayor pointed out, if it appears on the November 24 ballot, to pass by a 2/3 of California voters instead of 50+1.
So wait, run that by me. So if it gets on the ballot, it has to go to pass by 2/3?
If the ACA 11's on the ballot and passes, theoretically, the California Business Roundtable measure, again, subject to lawsuits, I'm sure, must pass by 2/3 of the California electorate to change basically a specific tax or a public started tax.
Will this measure change that requirement?
It would change what is being proposed in theory.
So
I would also add, the city manager just sent me the writ petition that was filed by the governor. I took a quick look at it, and they're basically arguing that the roundtable measure is not even eligible to be placed on the ballot because it would work a fundamental rewriting of the California Constitution. So
the governor is against this, obviously.
yes, I think.
For ACA,
For the roundtable measure.
but against the roundtable measure. A lot of which to say is we came to you this evening to share information. The council doesn't have to take any action if it chooses to do so.
How does any of this affect our lives here in Glendora and what we have to do here at the city?
Future ballot measures, future revenue. If the city, for example, needed to place a measure on the ballot. So the city previously has approved changes to the police department and library by referendum, which pre-existed 218 and 13 and 26 for that matter, where the residents voted to raise revenues via bonds and defease them over a period of time to build those facilities. Let's say, for the sake of argument, we had to build a new police station and we went out to the voters and the initiative was created by the city council. We would require 2/3 of our voting population to vote yes.
That's
If there
under
was
existing law.
yes. If the initiatives was started with the public, that threshold, according to case law, not what's written in the actual law itself, but case law, would say it's 50+1.
And it would be exempt from CEQA.
Yes.
Yes.
It's the public initiated it.
Yes.
Correct. For the very same action.
The very same action, just where it's generated from. Now, if that's not confusing enough,
So this would lower it down for the city to drop it down to 50.
No.
No, it would increase the voting threshold for the voter initiative.
To 3/4.
Yes.
back to 2/3 where it was previously to case law that occurred 2017 through 2020.
Clear as mud.
So where the business roundtable measure as it affects cities seeks to reinstate the 2/3 requirement, this measure seeks to keep case law intact and enumerate that case law in the California Constitution.
So
this will be a brand new constitution amendment, so it'd be like 513 amendments.
Number 13.
Excuse me?
Number 13 proposed this year. It was the
Yes.
13th proposed this year.
13th constitution member proposed it this year?
Yes.
2 will make it to the ballot, we
Not all-
think.
not-
Again,
To be
a lot
clear,
of this is, yeah, go ahead.
not all of them qualify for the ballot. So as is the case normally in every single legislative term, legislators present thousands of bills. Not all of those progress through the process. So this was the number 13 of what was generated this particular
Well, I
year.
guess what I was trying to say is I think, what, 512 amendments to the Constitution right now in California,
The Constitution is regularly amended by initiative.
which it should very rarely should ever be amended. All right, thank you.
Clear now.
Yeah, no, it's clear as mud. And I think today's action by the state makes it even less.
And I
so.
think the implicit discussion, if I may, is we spent a lot of time talking about the business roundtable measure, but this would apply to all initiatives moving forward, not just the business roundtable measure.
But I also think it's important to note, and Adam and I have this conversation, very lively conversation from time to time. It's not increasing the threshold. It's reinstating the threshold that was put in place by Proposition 13.
Mhm.
So there was case law that took place that adjusted the threshold in Prop 13.
Mhm.
And so this would reinstate the threshold to what it was prior to 2019. So this would just change in 2019.
And when Assemblymember Ward spoke to the League of Cities on Friday, the way he explained himself was that he was doing this to help cities because he himself had been on a city council and he was trying to remove gamesmanship. I mean, right or wrong, that is what he was pitching it as and saying his intent was. So just to muddy the water even more. So I mean, with that in mind, with, you know, the mud, I would say that we continue to share information with the residents before they vote on anything. But for us, maybe not to take any action tonight, yay or nay, but because it is so muddy.
Any other questions, David?
Well, I also am hearing, and I think what you hear is what the voice wants you to hear, whoever's reporting, no offense.
I'm unbiased. I'm unbiased.
Yeah, don't shoot the messenger, right?
Well,
Yeah.
honestly, just to interrupt you for a second, there's a presentation given at the conference that we were at. And I'm sitting listening to the presentation, and even though I disagreed wholeheartedly with the presentation and the comments that were made, everything that was said was factual. It was 100% factual, but as politicians tend to do, things can get twisted to be, in a certain way. So that's what we're dealing with.
Yes, and as you read writings about this, there's discussion about impacting a small percentage of cities to benefit the charter cities versus a general law city, which we are. Fact or fiction, I'm not sure. It's another muddy issue. And if it's something that the voters can vote on, but it only impacts a certain amount of the population, it hasn't helped the people at all, but maybe offers a negative impact. So it's.
Yeah, I would echo what Mayor Boyer said. ACA 13 is very simple. It's a 2-page read. It's very clear what it actually accomplishes. The implications of it after the fact is really what's messy about
Yes.
the whole thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Anything to add?
No, I mean,
You don't
it's-
want to jump in here?
we appreciate the conversation. It's difficult to talk about something that's going to happen now in November of 24. I think it's important to note when we originally started, when this issue came up and we went through our legislative policy and talked to the mayor pro tem and said, hey, we've had this conversation, but something slightly different publicly. Would we like to have it again? And the answer was yes. At that time, this was aimed at a March 2023 ballot measure, which you'd have some clarity then going into a potential competing measure or measures. This measure now won't hit the ballot presumably until November of 24. So with the action taken by the state today that Bill mentioned, I think even the future is a little more unclear than when we came here. I wish we would have known the league was, or the state was going to sue on the legality of a measure.
I think we probably all knew that. We just
Yeah.
didn't know when it was coming.
Yeah, I think we would have maybe asked to wait to see a little longer, to be honest with you, not to muddy the water, but it's, as you mentioned, Mayor, it's clear as mud right now.
Well, you know, the unfortunate thing, we took a position on the Taxpayer Protection Initiative that you lovingly call the Business Roundtable Initiative.
Well, it is sponsors. Yeah.
But you know, that was a position that we took probably way too early because we still don't know if that's going to be on the ballot or not. The point is that there's a big push to try to get cities to take these positions. And you know, I don't have a problem with us taking no position at all. I do have a problem with us supporting something like this. So that's just my opinion. And at this point, I guess we're looking for a.
Gary, I've got a question. Well, if this were in place, would it have affected our Measure E?
No.
Would it have affected anything we've done in the recent past?
This specific measure?
This is what we're talking about right now.
Or the Taxpayer Protection Initiative.
Not the taxpayer
Okay,
protection, but
ACA.
this one here that we're talking about right now.
No, because we haven't had that type of ballot measure. But in the future,
It would.
it would change
So if
things.
we were to go out for a bond for facility, would it affect it with the change they want now?
It would enumerate state law essentially to what it would keep from a voter approved initiative at 50%. So yes, it could be significant. It is a hurdle that you have to jump over. Is the bar 50+1 or is it 66? Right? It just depends on the size of the hurdle that it would affect the city in the future.
So if we were to take a position either way now, and then let's say a year from now, when it gets closer to election time and this mud gets cleaned up, we can always take another position, could we not?
We typically do not do that. So our legislative platform is pretty clear that once we take a position, that becomes the city's
Yes.
position.
Well, you're going no.
Well, I'm referring to ACA 13.
Yes.
Not the California Business.
So no, and
This
so
one here we're talking about
Yeah,
tonight.
ACA
yeah,
13.
so once we make a position, we stay with that position unless council takes another position. But this will be an action that the council already voted on. Something would have to significantly change for that to come back to council for reconsideration.
Yeah, I think it's better to wait.
So if we were to make a motion right now, and let's say 3 of us voted for it, and then we want to make a change again, can the same 3 bring it up?
No. Well, I look at Bill, but nothing.
But you'd have to do it. So a motion for reconsideration can only be made by someone who's in the majority. And I'd have to look at the municipal code, but typically it has to be made that night or at the following council meeting. So you couldn't wait for 6 months and decide, I want to reconsider what I voted on 6 months ago.
Yes.
Now, a
that-
change in facts, a change in circumstances. If you can justify it, you could put it back on the council as a new agenda item. But
We really don't know what the facts are, so you can pull something out of the air.
not going to know for many months.
Maybe waiting is the best thing. I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
I don't know what staff's view on that, but my view is if you took no action now, you're not reconsidering taking no action. You're finally taking an action. So I don't see that per se as a
continuance.
reconsideration.
Yeah.
It's a taking of a final action that
Yeah.
you've delayed taking action on.
Yeah.
So you.
So do you need a motion to say we're taking no action?
Yes, that. would
All
be
right, I
wonderful.
make a motion, we take no action and move on to the next item.
I'll second that.
So I have a motion from Councilmember Davis, seconded by Councilmember Friedel. Now conduct or roll call. Councilmember Alowis,
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Friedel,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Thompson,
yes.
Mayor Boyer,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
I'm glad we took an action.
Moving on to new business item number 13, award contract for artificial turf replacement for field number 3. Exceed $509,307. Jessica Clark to present. Welcome, Jessica.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. I am here for your consideration to award the contract for artificial turf replacement for Field 3 at Louis Pompey Memorial Sports Park to Field Turf USA Incorporated. in an amount not to exceed $509,307. Oops. So a little bit of background, Louis Pompey Memorial Sports Park opened in 2007 and consists of a total of 5 multi-use fields for softball, football, soccer, and flag football. Currently fields 1, 2, 4, and 5 are currently being converted to artificial turf from a previously approved city council project in December of 2022. As a current update, field 1 is currently completed. Field 2, we started laying artificial turf today actually, and fields 4 and 5 are scheduled to begin in October. So if this consideration was approved, field 3 would start in early November. The soccer field, field 3, was originally converted to artificial turf in 2016. Currently, artificial turf fields have a current life expectancy of about 8 to 10 years. Staff is recommending replacing the artificial turf on field 3 as it is nearing its useful life expectancy. Recommended with this project award would be removal of the existing synthetic turf and installation of 64,000 square feet of new synthetic turf on field 3, which would allow for enhanced playability, increase the durability. The modern design withstands heavy use and weather conditions, and the new turf has a longer lifespan, reducing maintenance and replacement costs in the long term. While there is an initial investment for replacement, the long-term cost savings in maintenance and repairs would be significant. And of course, the community satisfaction component, a high quality soccer field would increase our community satisfaction and encourage more participation from our sports programs. Since contractors are currently on site working on the other field replacements, if field 3 was also conducted while the sports park is currently still closed, it would minimize future interruptions to recreation services for our community. Aligned with our municipal code for procurement and the California Government Code 6502, we utilize the California Multiple Award Schedules, or CMAS, which offers a wide variety of commodity products and services, which have been assessed to be fair, reasonable, and competitive. Field Turf USA Incorporated's pricing proposal provided to the city complies with the CMAS contract. And Field Turf USA Incorporated is currently also a subcontractor for Ono Construction, who was awarded the original bid and completing the work on the other fields currently at the park. So with that, that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions, and we'll turn it back over for your recommendation.
Okay,
for
thank you.
approval.
Anybody have any questions? Michael?
Thank you for your presentation. Now, this will complete all of the turf now for Louis Pompey?
Yes, sir.
So there'll be no green grass anywhere there. Yeah, no grass at all, live or dead.
Right, that's correct. That would conclude the entire park.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes.
David?
Thank you, Jessica. The picture you represented of the soccer field, that wasn't the original. That's not artificial turf. That's
It's not.
adjacent area. Okay.
Yes, I
That's good.
apologize.
The only question I have, and I've offered this thought previously, since we're spending 5.1 million, if we add this plus the shade project, it's ongoing as well. Big expenditure on a big park. I'm curious, is our maintenance program up to snuff? Do we have the equipment to go in and quarterly or every 6 months, brush it, fix the infill to extend the usable life of the products beyond the 6 to 8 year life expectancy?
We do, and I'll defer to John.
Field turf we just got that we'll bring that back at mid-year, where we'll ask for money for twice a year. Field turf would come in and level it and add if we need any places where it needs to be fixed. I think it's 200 and some thousand for 8 visits, for a total of 8 years, so 16 visits for maintenance. They'll come twice a year out
Okay.
to all our fields.
Because that's a valuable
Yes,
maintenance issue to
yes.
add to the survivability
that will
and
come-
usefulness, and otherwise you got green floor.
Yes, and we'll do maintenance between that. We'll do monthly maintenance. They leave us with a drag in that where we'll be doing maintenance. And also our field attendants that got into this budget will be doing day-to-day stuff also out there.
Power rooms are cool things to make
Yes.
that work. So
Yeah.
if we don't have one, get it.
Yeah, they'll give us that.
Yeah,
That's
great.
all in the
Okay,
bid.
Give us.
good answers. Thank you
Yes.
very much.
It's a freebie.
Okay, actually, anybody else have a question? I just wanted to question on the disposal of the artificial turf at end of life.
Field turf, I just talked to their sale agent. They are subbing that out to artificial turf liquidators who come in and take the turf away, do all the cleaning of the infill, and then they clean also the turf and resell it for putting greens in your backyard and different uses. So all that gets reused.
It does, okay.
Yes.
Okay, appreciate it.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have a motion by Karen and a second by Mendel.
I'll now conduct oral roll call. Councilmember Alois,
Yes.
Councilmember Davis,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedendahl,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Boyer.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Jessica. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Anybody have anything else they'd like to add? No? Well, with that, I will adjourn our meeting at 8:30 exactly, and I'd like to adjourn our meeting tonight in memory of Richard Wilson.
Man.